covered for you long enough. I might sound a little rough. I'm wearing orange now and
Keller.
you Scott, you did this.
Keller.
Now Scott, now I know why. Now I know why. Now I know why. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why. I asked you where your dad was. Where was Big Daddy? You got so angry when I went to feed the baby goat. Now Scott, now I know why. Now I know why. Now I know why. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why.
Get up.
Where your dad was. Where was Big Daddy? You got so angry when I went to feed the baby goat. Now Scott, now I know why. Now I know why. Now I know why. It was you,
Keller.
Scott, you, and
Keller.
now I know
Keller.
why. I am hella mad and burning with rage, Scott, and now I know why.
When she was upset and Gary was leaving, she talked about, she said, my response to
I am hella mad and burning with rage, Scott, and now I know why. Now I know why. Now I know why. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why.
Keller.
Now I know why. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why. I am hella mad and burning
Scott,
with rage,
Scott.
Scott, and now I know why.
Hello and happy Easter to you all. Excited utterance here. And yeah, I'm hella mad and burning with rage and hella mad and burning with rage. And I'm about to find out why. Because the closing arguments are here. We've decided we've had enough of this nonsense. Yes, we have. The prosecutor did say, Mr. Manlett, prosecutor, did say in his opening statements that this would be a slow burn. And at the time, I said, mate, really? You said that? But it was a very slow burn. Such a slow burn that, yeah, I've had enough. Unfortunately, we're going to have to retire the song pretty soon. But I don't even think we're going to get through the closing arguments today because even they are a slow burn, a very slow burn. Hello, everybody. And Clemo, we said hi to you yesterday, but hello again. The Clemo became a YouTube member. That's wonderful. And by the way, guys, there are members only videos dropping constantly. If you are watching the body cams, the Gene Hackman and Betsy Hackman body cams, thanks to Dali's wonderful relationship with the Santa Fe PD. Hello, I'll just bring Dali in.
Hey.
Oh, wow, that was 2 for 2.
I know. We're getting good at that.
Yeah. So, okay, so guys, just off topic for a little bit from Melody. I've been going through these body cams and finding much more juicy stuff. Much, right? So there's interviews with witnesses, with the people who found the bodies. There's even phone calls with the family and stuff. They're a bit aloof, right? And so I'm dropping them for members only first, right? So watch out for those members only alerts because you get to watch them first, right? There's some things not adding up here. Stuff is not adding up to do with the final report as to what happened to them, but we'll come back to that later. I'm going to stream on this not tomorrow, but the day after, because this one's headed to court tomorrow for Laurie.
Yes, lovely Laurie.
Yeah. Hey, Sweet Tooth Fairy, how are you? Happy Easter. Oh, Sweet Tooth Fairy. Do you have anything to do with Easter? No. Sorry, that's the bunny.
Well, Tooth Fairy. No.
No, I
Okay,
think that's
no.
true. Yeah.
You're
Are
right.
there any Aussie Easter songs? Half Irish says. No, not that I know of.
Just Rama Rama.
No, not Rama Rama. Hey, Sarita, how are you, love? And thank you for the coffee donation. I
Yes.
received it overnight.
Yes, she sent me a donation as well. So thank you
Oh,
very much
she's
for
so
that.
sweet. Thank you so much. You're so
You're the
lovely.
bestest.
You are the bestest.
Thank you.
Ariel, hi. How are you, Ariel? Baby goat, baby goat. Happy Easter, Christine. You're lovely, darling. And thank you for staying a member all this time, too. That's so nice of you.
Yes.
Young. Oh, I almost missed this. I was watching Newly Born Kittens. Well, I can't compete with that. No. Happy 420. Hey, Dirk. How are you? It is a banger. Amen. Yeah. Eman and I yesterday in Josh's chat, me and Copian's chat. Dear, we were having some fun. Is it still Easter under the dome? Well, it is Easter Monday here, and we do have a holiday for Easter Monday because we're not heathens like you people. Yes, so yes, it is still Easter. Yeah, happy Easter. Happy Easter. Y'all are the shit. Oh, thanks.
Aw.
Quality stream. Yeah, it was quality. Okay. Now,
What is-
Justin Smith, you think everyone's guilty, Justin Smith? Oh,
Hey.
you can always go back. You can always go back. All right, let's get into it, guys. Because this is not going to be short. Well, I don't have time today to do all of the closing arguments because
Oh no!
I said earlier, they're a slow burn. A slow burn. Everything in this trial is slow.
Congratulations, well done.
You can't hear it. Yay. Can everybody hear
Are you
that
good?
okay?
You finished playing with your toy
For now.
for now?
For now. Wait.
Okay, by the way, we're still playing Make the Manlet Shrink. Now, he's shrunk a fair bit. He's sitting on a box or standing on a box to make himself a little bit taller. That was Dali's suggestion. He paid for
Yes.
that.
Oh, I
now-
always pay for it.
Yeah, always pay for it. Now, I've made his little imp ears and little rosy cheeks and stuff like that. We can always make him shorter. Really, guys, I would like to get him down to about the height of where Melody's head is at the bottom there. Right? So I'd really like to get him that big. That would be good. So, membership, super chats, donations, coffee, anything you can do, guys, would be so much greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, and let's go. Let's go, people.
If we need this, y'all need to go reload your coffee. That's fine. We'll do it. I've told Mr. Weaver and Mr. Ray that we will stop about halfway
Ray.
through
Sorry, Ray.
theirs, regardless.
Sorry, Ray,
and
that-
we will take a full break at that point and give y'all a chance to walk and stretch and grab a cup of coffee. We will go till when Defense finishes their closing. It should be right at noon. We should have food available for you. We'll take a 30-minute lunch break.
Only
Then
30
we'll start
minutes.
back with Ms. Frankish will resume her closing statements.
Is this really on
Then we'll probably take
1.5?
another short break, and then I'll give you the jury charge.
That's not 1.5.
Then y'all will have the case. It's going to then take us another. We did a pretty good job yesterday
That's
gathering
better.
up all the exhibits and everything for you, but we still have to get all that out there. But I'll give you instructions for that. There'll be another break before y'all jump in and start deliberating, just so y'all know. And we'll also have to talk to the alternates and give them instructions. All right, with all that, Ms. Frankish, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, get this. After all that, they didn't get Manlet to do the closing arguments.
Wow. What about rebuttal?
No. Oh, hang on. Maybe. But I don't think so. Hang on, let me see.
Yes. Oh, the power.
No!
But I haven't USB.
So yeah, power. It's
She
it
did
displays
everything.
loosely. So
Wow.
plug a-
You
plug a
sat
power
down
cord
like
into
a little
laptop. It's
girl.
on the it's on the screen.
I know, I have a privacy. It's
Okay.
an audio that's not
Okay.
there.
You got the pregnant chick to do it.
Audio right now.
Yeah,
Maybe
because
I'm-
they probably figured he pissed off the jury enough.
Okay. All right. And so I don't want to be confused,
Listen.
but I remember you telling me he's on the burn pile.
Mhm.
Were you lying about Scott? Scott, I mean, you think what? I don't. But you tell me what.
I can tell you that there should not have been as much damage as there was done.
What?
I don't know what that means.
That body should not have been burned up.
What the hell was that? We didn't hear that. Hang on. Wait.
This case
We
is
didn't
about-
get back down to normal
Well, we
speed.
didn't hear everything. So we may have missed
No.
that.
No, but we heard all of Rusty's testimony.
True.
They played the phone calls in Rusty's testimony. Where was that bit? Where was that? I made sure we played all of Rusty's testimony. Yeah, I know we didn't watch the whole trial, half Irish, but I made sure that we watched all of Rusty's testimony so that we could get those calls in. So where was that bit? I mean, how else could they have brought that in? So I'm confused. We need to hear that again.
There should not have
Hang on.
And so
Maybe I'm.
we need to be on the same page.
Okay.
All right. And so I don't want to be confused, but I remember you telling me he's on the burn pile.
Mm-hmm.
Were you lying about Scott? Scott, I mean, you think what? I don't. But you tell me what happened.
I can tell you that there should not have been as much damage as there was done.
I don't know what that means.
That body should not have been burned up.
This case is about Gary Wayne Farris.
And you're here because Melody Farris shot him, concealed his death by putting him on.
Okay, now I get why they convicted her. Now I get it. Now I get what you've been talking about, Justin. Because, I mean, either we did hear that and it was like playing it in that small portion takes it completely out of context, right? Or we missed it
Yeah.
somehow, right? But I don't remember hearing that. That body shouldn't have been burned up like that. That much damage shouldn't have been done. Him asking her, "Did you lie about Scott?" and then her changing the topic and going, "All I can say is that body shouldn't have been burned up like that."
Hmm.
It's like she's off on a different train of thought. It's like she doesn't want her words to be used against her, and she's saying that I don't even know. Like, it sounds really bad.
Yeah.
sounds really, really, really bad. They must have played it to play it in closing. They must have played it to play it in closing. I don't know that specific line either. You don't remember that specific line either. Yeah. It's like I want to go through all the transcript and do a Command F on the whole thing, or Control F, PC people, Control F on the whole thing and find exactly where they played it. Because if they didn't play it in context, like, that's a big appellate issue, right? Like, they had to have played it in context. They couldn't have just played that little piece.
Yeah.
I want to hear it in context. I feel like now I need to go to all the jail call videos, like there's jail call websites out there, and just like find all the jail calls and find the one, like that one, and play it on its own. Yeah, Control F that shit. Yeah. Wow.
On a burn pile on their property like he was trash. This is not a chess match or a well-played orchestra, as Miss Farris would lead you to believe. This is murder, and it is not a game.
Oh no!
Murder is the highest crime we have. And it is your duty to hold people accountable when they commit that crime. Murder does not happen often in Cherokee County. You are in a unique position as a juror, as a Cherokee County citizen, to make sure that remains the case. And to hold people accountable who commit those crimes in your county, to your citizens.
She was talking to Rusty, Melody, and that's why I made sure we listened to all of Rusty's testimony.
You have heard 3.5 weeks of evidence, maybe 4, I've lost count. But today, I'm going to go over the law with you and how you apply that law to the facts and the evidence that you've heard. The law instructs you to determine the facts. The facts are for you to determine. We have presented you the evidence, the witnesses, the exhibits, but you get to determine what happened in this case. And then you will apply the law that.
Oh, hang on. I need to put it back to 1.5.
To those facts.
She talks slow.
You are bound by the law. After the judge instructs you on the law, as he stated he will do for about 40 minutes or so, you will be armed with not only all of the materials that we gave you, the evidence, but you also have the tools, which is the law. You will be in the position to convict Melody Farris. We talk about duty a lot, a juror's duty. You took an oath.
Mm-hmm.
The object of the discovery, the object is the discovery of truth. It is your duty to seek the truth of what happened to Gary Farris. You are not to seek doubt. All of the evidence before you points to her guilt. What? It is not your duty to go through all of that evidence, to find all the holes that are unreasonable, and to come up with some hypothesis that it doesn't even make sense. Your duty is the truth. And see, the defense wants you to ignore all the evidence that points to their client's guilt. They don't like the truth. They're going to lead you in a different direction. That will not make sense. That is not reasonable. Stay on the path of truth, and you will come to the conclusion to convict Melody Farris.
You're not to seek doubt.
From proof beyond a reasonable doubt. As a state, we have to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Looks like they did in the YSL
that
trial.
Is just that, a reasonable doubt, the doubt of a fair-minded, impartial juror seeking the truth. If there's a doubt in your mind, it has to be reasonable to acquit. It cannot be a doubt that makes no sense that you have no answers for. That's not a reasonable doubt. And in this case, we have proven it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Or have you?
All of the doubts that they're going to get up here and try to plant in
That's
your mind are
the jury's
not-
decision to decide.
And the evidence shows that. And the law demands it. The defense is going to want you to believe that this standard is unattainable. They may even show that stair step picture that they showed in
Oh,
opening
the
of
stair
each
step thing.
burden as it gets higher and higher.
Oh, you know, the
reasonable doubt
burden
stops.
thing.
You cannot
Just,
define reasonable doubt with steps.
oh,
It is defined in the law.
is it? Just ignore the step thing.
It is not to a mathematical certainty. It is not beyond all doubt. Beyond all doubt is unattainable.
Oh, she's really pissing me
Crimes are not
off.
committed for everyone to solve and know about every single detail. Crimes are committed and concealed because no one wants to be caught. That's what you have in this case.
Sit down, bitch.
No square circles. Essentially, that's what the defense is going to want you to figure out. How to make this circle into a square. You can't do that. That's impossible. The pieces fit together
Yeah, Ariel.
and they show the truth.
Ignore our burden of proof. Don't look
We
at the
ask
steps.
you in jury selection about your experiences in your life, things that you've been through. We're asking you
Justin,
to bring
she's
your
not.
common sense and reasoning into that deliberation room. Do not leave it behind. Because common sense and reason gets you through life. That's what you need to apply to this case. You make inferences, you can make deductions, and reach the conclusions based on what you know, what you've experienced, the evidence, your common sense. That's how you'll reach the verdict in this case. In the beginning of this case, you were informed that you must be an impartial juror, not biased to either side. Impartiality, that's the starting point. And that she has a presumption of innocence. Well, that was 4 weeks ago. That was before you heard all the evidence.
Yeah,
That was
Justin,
before
jury's
you
an
actually
idiot.
realized that she's just cloaked in all her lies. You no longer are impartial. You have
You saw
all
the
of
one
the
that spoke
information,
to
all
Court
of the
TV.
evidence. And that leads to one conclusion, which is that she's guilty. She is no longer presumed innocent in your eyes. That is no longer where she sits. There are two types of evidence that the judge will instruct you on, direct and circumstantial. A lot of shows and podcasts and commentators, they all say, well, it's just circumstantial, right? We've all heard that. But the law says you give whatever evidence, whatever weight to whatever evidence you want. There is no legal difference between circumstantial or direct.
Feels
You
like
have
she's psyching
the
herself
most
up to decide if her boyfriend's
convincing
cheating on
circumstantial
her.
evidence, and yet the direct evidence is just, well, maybe. Or
Sweet Tooth Berry, hello. Do you think the prosecutors didn't make their case? Do you think there was still reasonable doubt? Look, here's the thing. I believe in circumstantial evidence coming together. I
Mark
think that
Jensen.
yeah, Jensen, absolutely.
There was no concrete evidence. It's just
No concrete evidence, really. Well, there was toxicology that pointed to it, but
well, I mean, yeah, but his theory was that she did it herself. So
yes, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I believe in circumstantial evidence compiling and the weight of that coming together to overcome reasonable doubt. But in this instance, and I'm not going to say that I've seen all of the testimony because I absolutely haven't. But I think I've seen enough of it to say that, and also, sorry, I'll backtrack. I've read so many people's comments who think that she's guilty, and I've asked them, okay, so how do you overcome the fact that she managed to get him to that burn pile? She's so small, and there's no physical way that she seems to be able to have done that, and the prosecution hasn't even really bothered to try and convince the jury that that's possible, right? They've just come up with a couple of kind of random thoughts. Okay, there's a tractor there, and there's some pulleys there and stuff, but they've been very random about it. Now, I know they don't have to explain every aspect of how the murder was carried out, but they've also been really very loose with how it could happen, so much so that there's a lot of doubt, right? And there was somebody else there on the property who was very big and able to carry this out much better than her, right? And also, we're believing in order for her to be found guilty, we're believing in the state's theory of when it happened, right? Scott was there, he lived there, and it could have happened anytime within a greater period of time than just a few hours when they say that Melody did it. So for me, beyond a reasonable doubt requires all those things to be ticked off. And her just saying those couple of words to Rusty that sound a little bit sus don't tick off beyond a reasonable doubt for me. I just feel like there's too many loose ends untied to say that she murdered him, and there's just no other reasonable explanation. Reasonable. Like, doubt can be something that you're reaching for and seems like it's impossible, but you kind of want it to be true. But then there's reasonable doubt, which is like, okay, well, it really could have happened this way, and it really could have happened that way, and it really, really could have happened that way. And that's how I feel about it. So, yeah, I don't think the state really did prove its case. That's just me. You agree? Thank you, E-Man. It was not an easy job, but it was absolutely doable by herself. But it might have been doable by herself, but did they prove it, Justin, that it really was done by her? That's what I think beyond a reasonable doubt requires, Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Dali?
From what I've seen, she would have had to do a lot of things just right. Probably. Do I think it's more likely she did it? Probably. I don't know if I would have convicted. But
yeah, sometimes it comes down to that. Sometimes you can be like, okay, maybe it's a little bit more probable, but that's the civil standard.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the balance of probabilities. If you think it's a little bit more probable that someone did it, then you still can't go beyond a reasonable doubt. Right? Like, if you were sitting there and it was a civil case, like wrongful death, and you went, I think what probably she did do it, then you could go guilty, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the standard that you're voting on a jury. On this magnitude, you're voting beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's not just more probable, there's no other reasonable explanation than she did it. And yeah, those stairs are actually critical. For her to say, oh, they might show you the stair graphic, they're critical because it's not just the step that goes balance of probabilities. It's not the one above that, which is clear and convincing evidence, right? A clear and convincing idea that you believe that that person is guilty. It's the one above that. Sorry, I'm blaring on too much now.
No, that's fine.
You could have evidence that's actually both.
Yeah, absolutely. We had the same standard.
I have a 3-year-old. And the other night, he was eating dinner at the table, and I ran upstairs to go get his sister's pajamas or something. We have a box of cookies on the counter by the cookie tin. They weren't in the cookie tin, they were in the box. And I come downstairs, and he had crumbs all over his face. There was a cookie missing. And so, based on that circumstantial evidence, I could infer my child stole a cookie out of that cookie box.
Oh, God.
I'm not going to infer that some cookie fairy came into my house and took it.
Are you saying you're raising a
That's
thief?
not reasonable. But that is circumstantial evidence. Now, had the box been knocked over on the floor and the crumbs sitting there on the floor and my dog is laying on the couch licking his paws, well, that scene points to my crazy dog probably jumped on the counter, got a cookie out of the box and ate it on the floor. I don't have to see who took the
This
cookie.
is her life. And you're talking about cookies and a dog.
And the scene leads me to believe it's one or the other.
Yeah, well, she knows
Because
a
I
lot
know my
about
child
bitches.
and I know my crazy dog. So circumstantial evidence is a conclusion that you can reach based on inferences.
Or Mel.
Direct evidence is something you heard, saw, tasted, smelled. Scott seeing blood on the floor in the basement. All of the testimony you heard, those are things that they experienced firsthand. The witnesses, it's direct evidence. There is no legal difference. You give whatever weight to whatever piece of evidence you deem appropriate. You get to determine the credibility of all the witnesses in this case. To do that, you can consider all the facts and circumstances of the case. And on the next slide, there's going to be a non-exhaustive list of other factors. In this case, motive, bias, all of those come up. Scott, Emily, and Chris will not get their father back. Whether they get up there,
What about Amanda?
they have no motive to lie to you because Gary's
What
not
about
walking back
Melody?
through that door. That's their mother.
Amanda's
They have no reason.
mother
to lie.
too.
They don't want this. They don't want her sitting there.
Amanda
They
doesn't
don't want
count
Gary
anymore.
gone from their lives. All they wanted is for you to have the truth. Martha,
Hola.
she is the epitome of a credible witness. Look up credible witness in the dictionary. It's a picture of Martha Barton. She loved Melody. She knew it was the right thing to do to come in here and tell you people the truth because you need to know the whole
We
story.
did miss Martha.
She had no motive to lie.
My bad.
Consider all of these factors when you're giving credibility to a witness. All of the facts and circumstances which they testify, their manner of testifying, their means and opportunity of knowing facts, the nature of the facts, the probability or improbability of the existence of that fact, the interest or lack of interest in the outcome of the case, and their personal credibility as you observe it. You actually weigh people's credibility every single day without really thinking about it. You choose who your friends are, you choose who you want around your family, who you hang out with at work. You decide that based on a person's credibility. This is no different. The nature of the facts, the nature about the facts of which they testify, let's talk about that for a second. David, Melody's friend, who came in here talking about his one experience with Scott in the driveway and the trailer, he didn't really have the means and opportunity of knowing the facts surrounding that situation. He knew Melody for like a second. Scott didn't know who he was. You know what Scott knows? Scott knows Melody killed his dad and is running around with Rusty Barton still and letting strangers over the house and throwing Christmas parties.
For God's
Yeah, he's
sake.
gonna be mad. His dad was just murdered and burned up in a burn pile on his own property by his mother. And now some strange man is coming and using his trailer. He's gonna be mad. David had no perception of that. Zero. And he has an interest in the outcome of this case. He doesn't want to see his friend go to jail.
She's talking about the one that we liked, the one who had the prosecutor for breakfast. Remember him? Yeah, the one with the baby grand piano.
Yeah.
Decide what testimony you believe or don't believe. Again, you weigh people's credibility all the time without even knowing it. The law allows you and demands that you determine who to believe and who not to believe. And some people, you can believe some things they say and not some things they say, right? Like Rusty Barton. He plays both sides. We know that. We saw that. He wants to stay out of trouble, yet he doesn't want to upset Melody. We know what he said was the truth about her statement, he's in the burn pile, because of the context in which he said it. We know the recantation is a lie because it makes no sense. Why, if she gave that statement at Martha Jane's house after Gary's remains were found, why would Rusty respond with, "Don't tell me anything else"? And he references that 2:20 a.m. call. And then the call you just heard, he references it again. And that was August 2nd of 2018. That is a witness.
2nd, 2018.
You'll have to resolve the conflicts of his credibility. But he was up there long enough. Y'all know the kind of person he is. Use your common sense and reasoning. Now I want to talk to you about what she is charged with in the indictment. And you'll have a copy of the indictment in the back with all the charges in it. I'm going to start with 4 and 5. We've got malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, concealing the death of another, and making a false statement. I'm going to start from the bottom and then go to more serious charges. Okay. First of all, I'm going to say this. If the defense doesn't get up here and concede making a false statement, no credibility to that closing argument. Knowingly, willfully making a false statement in any matter within the jurisdiction of the government of any county. Like Michael Ray said in his opening, lying to the police. I lost count how many times that woman lied to those police. But specifically, this charge is about being currently in an affair with Rusty Barton. And y'all heard that voicemail on June, I think it was 25th. It was like less than a week before Gary's remains were found. Call me back, love you. That affair didn't end the year before. She just saw the unraveling. She didn't even own up to any affairs. She lied about Ted Wiley. Oh, we were just friends. We were all just friends. Well, no, that's not true. You literally left your husband and went to stay with him for a significant amount of time. And he had to take the stand and talk about their relationship. If they don't get up here and concede that, you can't do it. Concealing the death of another. Commit this crime by concealing the death of another, hindering the discovery of whether or not such person was unlawfully killed, i.e. putting a body in a burn pile to conceal that he was shot to death.
I could see you doing that too.
Yep.
Concealment.
It's a good one.
Now we're going to go to count one, malice murder, causing the death of another person, in this case Gary Farris, unlawfully and with malice aforethought. Malice. That's what this charge is about. Malice is doing something maliciously, which means you have an abandoned and malignant heart.
Malignant?
Malice can be formed in an instant. Now, we have a lot of evidence of malice in this case. Malice is not premeditation or anything like that. It's not ill will or hatred, although we have hatred. She despised Gary. That's no secret. She intended to kill him without a legal justification. The state does not have to prove premeditation, although we have evidence of premeditation in this case. Taking that gun from Martha, telling Addison not to spend the night, she knew this day would come. There's no required time to form malice. Like I said, malice can be formed in an instant. Every time she saw Gary, she had malice.
Hey, it's like when Helen and I stream together.
Yeah.
Felony murder is another type of murder, which essentially is when you cause the death of another during the commission of a felony. And in this case, that's aggravated assault. Aggravated assault will be defined in the next slide, but it's shooting someone or pointing a gun at someone. That's aggravated assault. And that caused the death of Gary Farris.
Yeah, it's just that Scott
You do
did
not
it.
have to show in felony murder that Melody acted with malice, even though we know she did. This charge does not require malice. It just requires the commission of a felony and someone resulting in somebody dying. The judge will instruct that aggravated assault is a felony. There needs to be what's called proximate cause to the death. So the felony has to have resulted somehow in the death or be connected to the death, which we have. The judge will give you a definition of a simple assault, so you know what assaulted means, assaulted another person with a deadly weapon. And he will also instruct you that a firearm legally is a deadly weapon. We do not have to prove injury, although we have that in this case. It's not required. You can assault a person by instilling fear, but that's not what we have here. We actually have a shooting and we have a death. I want to talk about the state's burden. Like I said, reasonable doubt cannot be measured. They will want you to believe that that burden cannot be reached and it is unattainable. They will get up here and try to instill upon you that there's no way we can ever prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, that is just not the law. The law does not require beyond all doubt. We need order and justice, and that means we prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. You have more than what you need in this case to convict Melody Farris. I want to talk about grave suspicion in your presence because I assure you that Mr. Ray or Mr. Weaver will get up here and talk about how we just have grave suspicion of Melody. She was merely present at home when he died. No. We have way more than that. What they have is a grave suspicion of Scott, which is based on speculation and conjecture. And that's what that charge says. You cannot convict on speculation and conjecture. We can't even indict on speculation and conjecture. That's not even probable cause. Mere presence. Scott wasn't even merely present at home. He was merely present at the barn. Compare the two, right? Grave suspicion, mere presence. Scott Farris, they have suspicion based on what? He's 6'5", he has a messy apartment, he was in the military. I'm sorry, is that a suspicion these days? We have to suspect everybody in the military is a murderer? Grave suspicion, speculation, and conjecture. That's what they're going to throw at you about Scott Farris. That was all their defense witnesses. Well, I just didn't like the way he talked to me. Well, I'm sorry his dad was brutally murdered by his mother. I think he's allowed to be angry. But Melody, we're here because Melody is sitting in that chair. And we have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that she is the one that murdered Gary Farris. The judge is going to instruct you on what impeaching a witness is. It's essentially showing that a witness is unworthy of belief. You can attack the credibility, and he'll give you all those charges in the jury charge. We saw some of that here. But you know, the person whose credibility that was attacked the most is Melody's. I mean, you saw Amanda sit on that stand, and Mr. Fogus showed her the text messages of Melody lying to her about going to Minnesota. Did you see Amanda's demeanor? Betrayal, disappointment. That's attacking her credibility. She's not worthy of belief.
Objection.
Amanda knows that.
Objection. She's a defense witness. She's commenting on Amanda's demeanor. She's testifying.
I don't know if maybe you can an argument. You can. I don't think.
Testify. Really? How can she say? Did you see Amanda's demeanor? That she looked. What did she say? What's her words?
Disappointment.
Demeanor, betrayal, disappointment.
That's attacking her credibility. She's not worthy of belief. Amanda knows that.
Really? Is that okay?
Right.
Hang on. What just happened? Uh-oh. I just got so mad that I wrecked it. Man.
It's like 20 minutes in.
No, I'll just find the words. Hang on. Betrayal and disappointment.
Because it's closing argument, so she's like arguing things to the jury.
No, it's not free reign.
Well, I mean, there's objections and limits, but I think that's okay. You just can't comment on another witness like during the trial.
Betrayal. There we go. Closing is freer, yes, but not free. I just think no one ever objects in this trial anyway. Like there's not gonna be an objection. But still, it's pushing the boundaries. There we go. I got it back. See, how good was that?
Betrayal, disappointment. That's attacking her credibility. She's not worthy of belief. Amanda knows that. Her other children definitely know that. They sat up here and told you that. To that same vein, consider the source of a witness's information. If that witness's information is coming from Melody Farris, it is not worthy of belief.
Like you can say that.
That's how you impeach someone.
But to say that her demeanor indicated this and this.
Every crime must be committed with criminal intent. To determine criminal intent, you can consider words of the defendant, conduct, demeanor, motive, and any other circumstance that you deem relevant. We have a lot of intent in this case. We even have a text message where she says, "I told him I hope you die a gruesome death." If that's not direct evidence of intent, I don't know what is. Her demeanor when she found
Hang
out.
on.
I hope you die in a fire.
Sit down, bitch.
Her motive, she had plenty of motive. She's the only one that had motive. I've said this. She despised him.
Sit down, bitch.
She hated that he was giving away their money, her money.
Stop it.
That was the main motive. Rusty was a bonus. She was mad about that money. And you could tell that was her motive because after the offense, she was on a money hunt. It was all about the money. We'll get into that in the next close. Telling Addison not to sleep over, she had criminal intent that night to kill her husband. And she, 1, didn't want witnesses. 2, never told her grandkids that they could not spend the night. Telling people to, shh, I thought I told you to stop talking. Everything she said and did in this case not only proves that she committed these crimes, but she did it with malice aforethought and an abandoned, malignant heart. She stood to inherit all of his money. She burned the remains of her husband for almost 39 years in the hopes it would look like an accident.
No, I don't think she burned him for 39 years, ma'am.
All because
go back?
she wanted his money and to live a life of Rusty. Years. In the hopes it would look like
More.
Hey, she did say
She
that.
stood to inherit all of his money. She burned the remains of her husband for almost 39 years in the hopes it would look like an accident.
You just know she's like, fuck. Okay,
what-
I'm just going to keep going. I'll pretend.
Yeah, we'll pretend I didn't say that because really, I don't think you would have had much chance
No,
of doing any forensics on those bones.
that's
Really?
a long time, ma'am.
It's a long time, and like really, we saw Gary looking back at us.
Yeah. I mean,
Remember?
it was a burn pile, not a crock pot, ma'am.
No, it wasn't a cockpot. That really was a slow burn.
Low and slow.
Slow and slow,
All
baby.
because she wanted his money and to live a life of Rusty.
She meant to say husband of 39 years.
In my next close, I'm going to talk about the evidence and why the evidence and the law demands a verdict of guilty in this case.
I mean, why do it with your first close?
Let's go ahead and take a quick break. I'm gonna try to set up another microphone over here. All right. So we'll try to keep it to 10 minutes.
All right. So we get to watch. What's his name? Okay. Here's the deal, right? So this is quite weird. You know how there's 2 defense attorneys, and there's only 1 defense closing. They split it up
Really?
because they're boyfriends. I think. I don't know. They couldn't decide.
Well, sometimes they do like, well, if the judge allows them to, they can split up like different parts of the closing. Like in Murdaugh, they wanted to split up the financial crimes and the murder. And the judge was like, no, only one person can do the closing.
Nah, everything else, you like if the state asked for stuff, he'd be like, allow it.
Yeah. Oh, let me get the lube. Oh, I'm sorry. Hella thinks Murdaugh's innocent. It depends on the judge allowing it, basically. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember in Boone, what's his name? Owens had that associate, and he was quite a dickhead.
Oh,
And
God,
he wanted to do part of the closing. If the closing could have been any worse, it would have been if Kranick had allowed that to happen. Thank God he didn't allow that to happen.
God, how bad that guy
'Cause-
was.
Yeah. I can't remember his name. But yeah, the black dude. I can't remember what his name was. But yeah. I think Owens was like, thank God that wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
That would have
Okay,
been.
I remember him
From the
arguing something
audience.
like the day before
So,
the trial.
Yeah.
That I think he was the black guy, and he's just
Yeah.
like couldn't get his mic working, and the judge is super annoyed.
That's right. That's right. I think he just really wanted to be on TV. I think he's like giving up his time to do this.
Yeah,
He wasn't getting
He was-
paid.
he was jealous of Shelby.
He's jealous of Shelby. Yeah.
Wanted all the cameras on him for once. He's gonna go to Miss Bikini International next.
That's right. Yeah. It's like, I want to do half the closing. We'll put a motion in. Come on, we'll put a motion in and do half the closing. And Koenig was like, nah, bless you.
Yeah, but no.
Media folks can have yours out. Can be taking notes or whatever.
Someone just
but
sneeze.
Members of the public.
I still think she did it too. Don't worry. Oh, sorry. Well, we're talking about Boone. I think she did it. What are we talking about?
Certain, or if you have some monitor like I do that will go off even if you have it on mute, turn it off. Well, I didn't put it back on after the other day, so I can do what I can eat whatever I want at the moment.
Look, this judge is so casual. He's just like tuna sandwich.
It's like the Georgia Chandler
Yeah, Sarah.
Halderson judge.
Of course she did it. Yeah, Chandler Halderson judge was like,
It is received.
what was his? Yeah. It will be received. That was his catchphrase. When a new exhibit was put in, he'd go,
Yeah.
"It will be received."
Or it is received, I think.
It is received.
All right, Mr. Correa, go ahead.
May it please the court, opposing counsel, ladies and gentlemen, first off, on behalf of Mr. Weaver and Ms. Farris, thank you very much. I know that this has been, for y'all, a long 4 weeks, and definitely for all the lawyers, it's been a long 5 weeks of dealing with this case. And we note that you have been paying diligent attention, taking your notes, and we are very appreciative of that. And with that, and like I told you on October the 7th, when I did my opening statement, you're getting on the Ferris wheel. And it is, in fact, this family is a soap opera. And I think through the testimony that you saw that. Now, first off, the indictment, Ms. Frankish went over the indictment with you, so I'll just touch on it briefly. Count 1, malice murder. Count 2, felony murder. Count 3, aggravated assault. Count 4, concealing the death. And count 5, making false statements. Now, this is just to point out, Ms. Frankish pointed out that, we're disingenuous if we don't just get up here and freely admit about count 5 making a false statement. So I'll just go ahead and give you a preview that Mr. Weaver is going to be coming up with. He does not have a PowerPoint. He's got 2 books and about 10 pieces of paper, and he's going to be specifically addressing that with you. But what I will be doing in mine is walking you through what the actual physical evidence was in the case. And we're actually going to start by walking through the front door of the Farris property. Now, first off, with reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is the doubt of a fair-minded, impartial juror honestly seeking the truth. Ms. Franklin said it to you. I said it to you in opening. The judge is going to say it to you again. Mr. Weaver is going to say it to you again. And Ms. Franklin was right. There is a stair step. I found that several years ago, and I have used it ever since, and I absolutely love it because it shows what reasonable doubt is. Because you're not finding this case and deciding this case based on reasonable doubt. It is beyond reasonable doubt. So it's a doubt that you can give a reason for. They have to go beyond that. They don't just get up to the reasonable doubt step and stop, because that's not guilty. They got to get up on that top step, beyond that doubt. And it is a long road. Look at all the stairs, no evidence until a reasonable suspicion, probable cause, preponderance, clear and convincing, reasonable doubt, and then finally beyond reasonable doubt. They have not come even close to beyond reasonable doubt. The state has introduced a case to you and spent 4 weeks presenting evidence, and it is so full of holes, and we're going to go through all of those. Remember I told you about when John Luke and I were getting ready for this case, and he had kind of hit a wall that day, and he was like, I'm leaving, I'm done. Can't listen to any more interviews. There's so many hours and hours of interviews in this case. He was like, I'm leaving. And he went to the drugstore close to our office, and he was just talking to the clerk there, and she said, well, sometimes the race questions go unanswered. Came back and rejuvenated the next day. We're like, hey, we got a theory, because we do have a lot of unanswered questions. So what are just some of those? The questions that have no answers in this case. How about the easiest one? Where was Gary shot? And if you remember from that drawing from Dr. Gooding, and I'll show it later, he could have been shot here. But you also said he could have been shot here. They don't actually know where he was shot. They don't have an entrance wound. They don't have a wound pad. They don't have an exit wound. And in fact, and I'll go over it more later, Dr. Arden stated that the bullet is lodged in the soft tissue, never entered the body cavity. And that fact, that bullet that they found in the burn pile, there's no way that it would cause death. It would cause
Because she
death,
burned
that
him
it
for
could possibly move
39
along.
years.
But in his medical opinion, it's impossible that that bullet caused the death. How was he put on the burn pile? This trial started out, it was a week of establishing the fact that they have a tractor. And there are now hundreds of photographs of a tractor in an RTV. But how did he get on it? And we'll go through what the tractor in the RTV shows. Where is the gun? No idea. How about where are the bullets? No idea. Scott's odd behavior, and I'll talk more about that shortly. How did Gary even die? And that ties into where Gary was shot. You heard Dr. Arden say that he would have to say that the manner of death is undetermined and that the cause of death is undetermined. And he said that because that was his medical opinion. And he was very clear in stating that I am saying this because I just do not have the facts. And I have not been given the facts. And the state hasn't shown me the facts to be able to make to a medical certainty of what the cause of death was and the manner of death was. And there are countless others. And we're going to be going through several. So walking through the crime scene. This is the front door of the Farris home. You'll remember from
I wish we could see.
testimony of that point in time he was an investigator, now he works at the school, shot. You remember?
This isn't like the back door at Hito.
Brought back in, because I don't think you remember who told him to, but there was a blood droplet. I don't think my little pointer will work on the TV, but it's right there, kind of underneath the window in the middle
Or he just
of the
blinded
hallway.
a juror.
Potential blood drop. But
Trying to use
Sorry.
a laser pointer on the monitor.
blood
Just,
droplet was not collected or tested.
And there's a cat
Actually,
that
when they
comes
brought
along and
Asian
goes,
coffee out, or Asian homie, they didn't even have her blue star either. So there is a spot on the floor of unknown origin, and nobody knows actually what it is. Moving further into the house, into the dining room, and you'll remember if I am facing this photograph, the door to the stairs to go down to Gary's living quarters, it would be to the left. Agent Honay sprayed this entire area, if you'll remember from her testimony, in Blue Star. Nothing. Not a single drop of blood, except for when you turn and on that same rug. That's the rug there, and that's up toward what would be the left-hand corner of the rug. There's a single drop of what she said is possible blood because it reacted to the Blue Star. Wasn't collected, wasn't tested. I asked her, I asked Shaw, I asked Stewart, can you take that, can you cut it out? Can you swab it? Yes, yes. Have you ever done that before? Yes. Did they do it? No. Didn't do anything. They really took a photograph of it and said, well, good enough. And you're going to hear a lot of that in this case. It all seems as a lot of good enough. And actually, they came in and they're sitting on the front there, which is perfect. Because a lot of them, if you heard us when we were questioning them, it's like, why didn't you do that? And what's the answer? I wasn't asked to. Well, when you're the government and you're investigating a murder, you should have some decency to actually take initiative in this case, especially if you're going to accuse a woman of murder. But they don't have any initiative. In fact, they have Kuykendall over there standing next to a tractor at 8 o'clock at night for no reason instead of actually investigating. They abandoned, of course, Hayes ain't getting off the hook that easy, but that sheriff's office, they abandoned Hayes. They went out there and they investigated that crime scene and they left, and then they just said, Hayes, you know what, you're the lead, it's on you. Figure it out. And just left it. That's why Pope had to go with him to Tennessee. He don't even work for the sheriff's office. He's an investigator with the fire department. And he goes all the way to Tennessee to interview Mark Jane, I believe, and also Rusty Barton, because he was left. But so there's no initiative. Agent Honay says, when I asked her, did you collect it? No. Why? Nobody asked me to. No initiative. Here's the other one. So this is two separate photographs. One on the left is essentially how the photograph is taken if you just took it while we're standing here today. The second one is you turn off the lights, and you remember with Shaw how you got to manipulate the lights, and then I did the whole thing about instead of taking a photograph and manipulating it, why don't we just set the stage in the house to actually be able to show the luminescence of the Blue Star actually on a photograph instead of manipulating the photograph to maybe see the Blue Star. So that one's been manipulated, but that's fine, because what did Honay say? It reacts like blood, but it can also be something else. Because remember, I went through with her different types of food that can react to Blue Star, different type of chemicals that can react to Blue Star, different type of minerals that can react to Blue Star. So she said, I don't know what it is. And also, did they sample or collect it? No. So essentially what we have here is a photograph of something that proves nothing. The stairs were the same way. I was going to go in, put in the Blue Star on the stairs, but, not just going to sit here and beat a dead horse. They didn't do anything with the stairs. They said, well, it looks like blood. Well, we're not going to collect it, and we're not going to test it. So good enough. Now the downstairs, we actually get some investigation going here. You see from 1, 2, 3, and 4. You heard with the GBI that essentially we were calling 1 and 2. That's EM1 and EM2. That's just EM was evidence marker, so 1 and 2. Now, those blood droplets are the blood DNA of Gary Farris. It is proven, that is a fact. 3 and 4 were not collected nor tested based on the testimony of Shaw and Thrasher, and Hayes as well. Side by side, a close comparison of EM1 and EM2. You can see the blood droplet of EM1 is a centimeter, a little bit smaller. EM2 is those tiny, substantially less, less in size than a centimeter, 3 little droplets. Now, the basement. We talked a lot about the basement. So I just put that in there from a back-away perspective of this. You can see there where the arrow is, that's about where EM1 was. It's essentially at the foot of that wooden spiral floor mat. The projectile that was found in the basement is in between the cushion and the chair. And there's a close-up of the projectile. Now, here's what's interesting about the projectile. The projectile, they testified, did have DNA of Gary Farris on it. And I believe that they actually tested a piece of skin. That's what the testimony of that was. But look at that bullet. It's in a very peculiar spot. According to all the witnesses that testified, there's no impact marks, there's no bullet holes, there's no nothing. There's no marks on the ground where this bullet landed or anything like that. And then when Honay got on the stand, because remember, she Blue Starred the basement, and also with Kuykendall, he's the one that found the bullet, no blood found around that bullet. The only blood is 1, 2. That's the only blood in the basement. Around that bullet, there is no blood. So there's no blood found anywhere around the projectile. Now, Honay said she Blue Starred it, the whole basement. I'll show you another photograph in a second. And also the GBI quantified that they examined the bullet and there were no textile fibers found on the bullet.
Surely the jury doesn't believe that he was shot in the house.
About how a bullet can go through, especially with those types of bullets that you saw, and you'll have it back there. You'll see that the flanges that kind of go out kind of got almost looks like kind of teeth on them, where the bullets opened up. And they talk about how that can go through and snag on clothing and things like that. You can get fibers and other types of materials on the bullet, of which they found 0. Now, showing the basement out again, the little area, that's where Hone Blue started.
If
And I
they
asked
believe he was
specifically,
shot in their
did Blue Star
house,
on
then they
couch,
know nothing
chair,
about
dots?
shootings.
Her testimony was, and you'll remember this as well, was that she believed that she had Blue Star the whole basement, but she would only take photographs if it showed the luminescent or presumptive blood. And she had no photographs of the couch, nothing. Up here in any of the walls, and this applies upstairs too. Nothing found. Nothing found on the back walls, nothing found on the ceiling, nothing. The only thing found, 2 less than a centimeter drop of blood in the basement. Now, this was admitted through Thrasher, I believe. Essentially, and this is a pivotal piece of evidence because when you're looking at the photograph, it's kind of hard to figure out, especially for you guys who hadn't been there and seen all this stuff, of actually trying to navigate that house. Very confusing, especially when you get in the basement. But you can see, and you'll have this back with you as well. This is the main floor layout. You got the porch and all that. And I've taken this and I put the little dot. So that first dot closer to the bottom, that's where they said they thought was blood, but they didn't do anything with. Then you move around and you've got nothing until you get to that little drop at the top of the stairs that Hone talked about, as well as Thrasher, and then that other kind of swipe mark.
Yeah,
closer to the
Mavka.
family room and drops them downstairs. Now, what I thought was interesting is the reason for this. So you supposedly have, you'll remember Mr. Focus asking, I think it's Hayes, did you have evidence of a violent crime being committed in this house? He said yes. Okay, so that's your evidence of a violent crime. 4 supposed drops of blood that was never collected, never tested in this entire Farris house. It's a pretty big house. But where else was nothing found? Or what else was found? So we got the living room, there's nothing. Kitchen, nothing. Breakfast area, nothing. Little hallway that leads to the bathroom and the mudroom, nothing. The hallway leading into the dining room, nothing. The dining room, there's just that one little drop that they didn't collect on the carpet. But other than that, nothing. Studied, nothing.
He needs to
And
talk
most
about the
importantly,
fact
second
that
most importantly, that's the
people
hallway that leads
testified
up
to
the
not
garage.
seeing
Zero
anything
found. Front porch,
at the
zero found.
time.
Going downstairs, that's EM 1 through 4. You can see I labeled it, the top 2 kind of bigger ones. It is hard to make a circle with a mouse attached to your keyboard, what you guys got to do with your fingers. So take no part of that. But also down here, so we got that, and we also got the projectile, right? So let's not forget that. But what else we have? Well, we got nothing found in the media room or the workshop. We got nothing found in the bedroom. Nothing in the office, storage, utility. Nothing leading out of those sliding glass doors to the outside. And nothing leading out upstairs, going back again, no, we'll do that, leading out the front door. This is pivotal. And also, you'll remember I asked, I think it was Shaw, and he hemmed and hawed around most of the stuff I asked him, but there's no damage to any of the doors, leading in or out of this house. So, any evidence of any dragging or any equipment being used or anything like that, and we'll get more into that later, but there's no damage to any of the door frames, the doors themselves, nothing. Now, this was, I think, aerial 10, and I put a little campfire, that's my burn pile. All right, and that's a rough estimate of where it was. Y'all recall, y'all all walked down there. But what I wanted to show you is using this photograph, so here, no blood is found. Here, no blood is found. Around the burn pile, no blood. No blood, no blood, no blood. Not a single solitary drop of blood from anybody. Melody, Gary, no one. And we're going into the tractor. You're probably like, well, what about the RTV and the tractor? We'll get to that. So that just shows all of those law enforcement. I can name, about who was there. Hayes was there, Shaw was there, Thrasher was there, Eckhart was there, I think Hans was there, Ballard was there. All of these people, all of these investigators, all of these law enforcement officers, EMS was there, fire was there. All of these people, and not a single solitary drop of blood is found on the outside where they claim that a violent murder happened. The outside of the house. This came up because you've heard, probably didn't know what a preliminary hearing was. There's no point to learn it now, but you heard Melody, you heard a man talking about it. I learned it at the preliminary hearing. And one of this photograph became a big deal at the end of the preliminary hearing because you can see the crime scene tape. So that is actually taken on or around July 5th. And I know the grass is extremely different now than when you all went out there. That is actual, real, regular old grass. Not a single tire track, drag mark, none on that well-manicured grass, or the surrounding mulch, or anything else. In fact, there's the photo. We'll go on into that. So, we spent a whole day establishing tractors. So we got the tractor, and then we tested it. Or actually, I stood by with it for some reason. I think Stewart actually found a photograph on the left. That's the blood drop that was Gary's. That single, solitary, tiny little blood drop on the step. Because if you actually look at the tractor, there's no step on the, if you're standing behind it on the right side, there's no step. So this is the left-hand side of the tractor. And that's all it is. Now, the other photograph, that's the Blue Star photograph that Hayes and Shaw took when they actually took the tractor and the RTV over to the sheriff's office. And they said that this was, number one, it wasn't electric testing, running thing we have here. So they said that was indicative of blood because it illuminated. But then, out of nowhere, I've been here for 4 weeks, and then we call chief deputy. I didn't know he was a chief deputy. Thought he was still a captain. Found out he's a chief deputy now. We got promoted. Found out, why did you call in the GBI? I was going to ask him that anyway because he was the head of CID, so he had to be the one to approve it. What did he say?
Huge.
Our Blue Star expired. So there's now evidence that the Blue Star that they used in this investigation was actually expired. And
You
if
are
they believed
rambling.
that it was necessary at that point, then they needed to call in the GBI to do Blue Star testing because they didn't have any that wasn't expired. Nobody told you a single word about that. And all of the testimony about Blue Star by the sheriff's office until opinion came and said, no, I called in the GBI because we didn't have any of those. Not that it matters anyway, because yet again, not collector testing. Now,
Well, luckily,
but,
Baldy is coming on because
no blood, no DNA, zero evidence whatsoever.
she's paying for
There
this
is
bullshit.
nothing that indicates that tractor was used to move Gary Farris's body at any point in time, other than a tiny drop of blood on the stairs. And there's plenty of evidence that Gary used the tractor. In fact, it was his tractor. He used it if he wanted to. And there's a tiny drop of blood on it. But where there's
Yeah,
we're talking about
Justin.
murder, we're talking about moving a 6'5", 300-pound man. We got to have a way to do it. Use the tractor. Nothing. Somebody that the state says was shot 2 or more times, and there's not a single, not blood, not skin, not
That's-
sweat,
that's
not hair,
important.
nothing found in the bucket of the tractor.
Make a bigger
Also-
deal of that.
Back, I was just thinking last night while I was putting this together that maybe they tied a rope around it, and we'll get into ropes and stuff later. But on the back of the tractor, no blood, actually no blood, suspected blood, or DNA, or any evidence whatsoever on the back of the tractor. So the front has nothing, the back has nothing. Now the RTV kind of shifted, and then it seemed to me like in the middle of the trial almost, or not necessarily in the middle, but in the physical evidence part that things kind of twisted. It was well, we've got to abandon this tractor idea, but that's not really working out. We're switching to the RTV. It's a little easy. So of course we got a Blue Star tested too, but there was Melody's blood was found in the GBI testified on the L2 shifter. There was no other blood or other DNA found on the RTV. Now here's what's interesting.
Melody's blood.
L2 shifter. That's how it's labeled. You'll have a copy of the GBI report back there with you. That's what they call it. Problem is there's zero evidence or photographs of the interior of the RTV, and nobody testified what the L2 shifter is or does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if that
1.5.
makes it go front and back. No clue. It's just called the L2 shifter. Now here's the Blue Star, yet again expired, on the RTV. So it is very hard to see, but so I'll put the circles around it. So that is on the, we'll go with the left side first. That's on the, looks like the driver's side of the Kubota. Those little drops. They said that was presumptive of blood. Then on the back, where that indention is on the left-hand side, there was a little blood there, or what they thought was blood. Now, and keeping the theme of this case rolling, not collected, not tested, not sent to the crime lab. Also, remember, because I asked who would have been, I'd been Shaw. I asked Shaw specifically, that tractor and that RTV, what'd y'all do with that Blue Star? And he was like, we hosed it back, the whole thing. Remember, we got a violent crime, violent murder. The state's trying to say that this was potentially used to transport a 6'5", 300-pound man.
Yeah.
Where there is absolutely no DNA based on the Blue Star, and actually their own physical examination of the RTV is actually in the bed. Nothing. And also the Blue Star looks tiny. Now, this just occurred to me just out of other reasons. I want to go because people were just, you never know what a jury's going to think and what other people think. So you just try to cover all your bases. So thought about, maybe they used a winch to get Gary out of the house or something. But there's no evidence of a winch in the house. There's no evidence of a winch on the RTV.
Maybe she hired a helicopter.
Four-wheelers, I ain't got four-wheelers. Got an RTV, it's got no evidence on it. No evidence of any ropes, cables, straps, jeeps, tarps, horses hauling. dolly hauling.
Horses, yeah,
That
horse
could be,
carriage.
I call them hand trucks, or the thing, like four square with 4 wheels kind of dolly thing. No evidence of that. No evidence of any device used to potentially move the body of Gary Farris. Zero. Not one. You got all these photos, hundreds. I don't even know how much
gondola?
evidence we're actually up to in this case. I mean, I'll count it when you get back to the jury room if you want to. But I mean, there's probably 1,000 to 1,200 photographs.
Yeah,
on-
Justin.
a lot of them are like this. That's why I put these 3 separate photographs together. It's like, look at all this stuff. But nothing is found. Now the house, I wanted to show you that because of that. So, we've got none of these things to move the body. And then yet again, on the outside, no drag marks at all. All across that drag. That's all the leaves, how the, underneath the tree canopy there, how it is. So you can see that if you were dragging a 300-pound man down that hill, it's fairly steep, that there would be some evidence.
See, like,
And there's not. There's zero.
levitation makes
I'm
sense.
really sure. That's one.
Some
Show you
sort of
this. John Wilson
levitation.
visited the evidence. And I'm just going to put gloves on.
Or a helicopter.
Things get a little
A winch, parachute.
and evidence back for 6 years. So, and we didn't do it with the GBI.
Oh, what's he doing?
Actually,
Ooh.
did a test of blood. But when you look, because I asked y'all.
The glove don't
y'all have the
fit.
photograph back. When you look at this, you remember,
What's
here's
that?
the front of it.
Is it
Shaw
a magic trick?
was saying there was blood down here or here. That's where he was saying there was blood. But where there was actual blood found, way up here. He didn't point that out. That's where the GBI actually took the cutting of the shirt and found blood. And whose blood was it? That was Melody's blood. Now, they called the other lady with the GBI who said that she tried to run what was called a true allele test. And all true allele is just a computer program that can potentially try to separate two different types of DNA. And it couldn't do it. It just said that there was Melody's DNA and there might be the DNA of somebody else of unknown origin and unknown time. So we just don't know what it is. So it didn't work. So you got Melody's blood on her own shirt. And you also, in her shoes, that John was also put in, there was a single drop of blood on Melody's shoe. And yet again, this is Melody's on the shoe. Now, why is that kind of important? For me, it goes to show the quality of the investigation. Because why take those things, send them off to be tested, if you're not going to do the basic thing? Hayes never asked, and we have no evidence of, did Melody wear the red shirt on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th? We know she didn't wear it on the 5th because she didn't photograph her on the trail cam. So we don't know. No evidence she even had the shirt on. We don't even know, Hayes said he found it in the closet. Remember, we kept asking people, where you found the shirt, where you found the shirt? No, it didn't. He just found it in the closet. You don't know, was it hanging up? Was it in the dirty clothes? Was it laying on the floor? No idea. But again, there's a shoe, Melody's blood. So going back to no evidence on the 3rd and 4th that you had those things on. I mean, it's her own blood on it. And there is evidence, remember, because she broke the plate and that she actually has a cut on her finger. That's an evidence. So there you go. But they didn't take that initiative that you have to when you're investigating somebody for murder. Take the initiative to say, hey, this shirt's got blood on it. When's the last time you wore it? Let's document where we found it. Let's take photographs of it before we pick it up. Let's do those simple tasks. But they don't have the initiative. Shoes, no, I don't know when the last time she wore it. Put this in. You'll have it back there. I tried to cut and paste, use paint. Didn't come out too good, but I just know what it says. These are the blue shoes and a t-shirt saying that is blood, Melody Farris. Yeah, fine. It's her own blood, it's her own blood. And her fingers cut. We don't even know what she had. Also, there was, they sent off some towels, if you recall. Very limited testimony regarding these towels, but they sent off, it looks like 26 was the package. So, A, B, C, D, E, sent off 6 things. 1 white towel, 5 white washcloths. 2 of those, or all of them, it looks like A and E didn't pass the test. It says 2 presumptive tests for blood did not produce the same result. And the GBI testified that basically they did a preliminary test on it and they do it twice. And it gave different results. So they said, well, at that point in time, we can't tell you that's blood, so we're not going to test it anymore. The other items that they sent down there were negative for blood. Not a barn. The bane of my existence, that nothing was really done in the barn other than Lieutenant Stewart. And, I kind of feel bad for him, kind of like I do Hayes sometimes, is he just got told to go out there. But to his own fault, he didn't take any initiative. Yet again, when you're investigating murder, you got to have some initiative. Because he took photos, but asked him about Blue Star, all that. He said, I wasn't asked to do it. And one thing he was going back to Lieutenant Stewart, he works in the courthouse now, so I see him every day. And I've been talking to him this morning. But at the end of the day, it's like, you got to do your job. Whether or not I like you, Lindsay and Allison over there every day. Talk to him almost every day. See him every day. Most of the day he's in this courthouse. But I tell them the same thing. If you're going to charge my client with murder, then you better take some initiative and actually investigate. So the barn, they took photos.
Charge my client with murder.
Literally, and we had pointed at, and I'll switch side in a second. Just because we were going through, kind of lay the framework for this, what we did is our staff, they got here late, and so they did not get a seat, are standing over there, 2 of them. Now, they had to go through and print out every photograph in color in this case. One folder that is from July 15th has 2006 photographs. And we had to print, and that's one folder. There's probably almost 3,000 photographs taken in this case in total. So we printed all of those out. And John Luke sat there listening to interviews, flipping through photos. And then I started going through and flipping through photos. And then we started noticing that, Scott living in the barn and, he's a 30-something-year-old man, probably not going to be very clean. It wasn't too bad, but his living quarters, pretty nasty. Dog feces all on the floor, not clean. I'm kind of a clean freak, so I pick up on that. But what was curious to me, a 30-something-year-old single man living in his parents' barn, that bathtub and that sink are spotless. And law enforcement,
not a jizz stain anywhere.
Okay, this is kind of weird. The rest of the house ain't too clean. Why is this absolutely spotless? And also, there's a magic eraser in the bathtub. I mean, at a minimum, could Blue Star. What he was watching off blood. But we don't know, because they don't have initiative. Same thing, you'll remember, but you're probably wondering, why in the world are they putting these in the photograph? And I don't have it on a slide, but you'll remember downstairs in the barn. See Mr. Focus put in some, and I put in some too. There's that drain, and there's a water hose running over to the drain. You actually close-ups of it. No Blue Star at all in the barn. And they had, they can't use the old, it's a tired excuse because they called Renee out there. And I asked Renee, did they ask you to go out and Blue Star barn? What'd you say? Somebody asked you to. The bullet. This is just more for my own curiosity why I kept asking these questions. And the answers were kind of shocking. We know the bullet on the right. We know who found it. That's the one from in the basement. That's hiding. He found that. But the one found in the rib in the burn pile, of who found it. Dr. Gooding, remember her? She was the actual anthropologist. She said she found it. Now, before she testified, Detective Westbrook testified. If you remember him, kind of the bigger man with the beard that we put in the photographs of Melody Scars. He said he found it. Sally Sims, the coroner, who made herself a witness in the case somehow, she said she found it. And then everybody's favorite investigator, Shaw, he claimed he found it. It's just puzzling as to what is supposedly a critical piece of evidence in this case. And you got 4 of your own witnesses being the person who claimed to find it. I mean, that is simple.
I found it. I found it.
Located bullet, really. No. They got 4 people saying that they're the one to tell them. Just doesn't make any sense. Quite a lot of this is the GBI, the ballistics report saying that it was a 38 bullet as found in the basement. We'll see the way they differentiate it. 38 bullet basement floor, and then 38 bullet jacket. That's the one from the rib. When it says bullet jacket, that is the one from the rib. And that one is in evidence somewhere. I think it's probably in here. So you can actually have that packed in a clear case where you can actually look at it. And you'll also have, I'll just talk about that while we're here. You'll also have what's called a bullet comparison sheet. Mr. Focus put into evidence with Ms. Bagwell with GBI. And what that shows is you'll see the comparison of the bullets. A lot of it probably won't make sense. But if you look at it, and from her testimony as well, you'll see that basically from the bullet in the rib, she based a lot of her assumptions off it based on the bullet in the basement. So the bullet in the rib is burned up, and I said, how can you tell what kind of bullet it is? And she said, well, I'm making the assumption that since the bullet in the basement is a Hornady brand, according to her testimony, I'm just making the assumption that the bullet in the rib is a Hornady as well. And I would say assumptions isn't reasonable doubt. It certainly isn't beyond reasonable doubt. You'll also see things like the weight of the bullet and stuff like that. They're both very, very different. But y'all have all that back there to look at. Next, we also learned that .357 Magnum can shoot a 38 special bullet. Pretty well uncontroverted. There's plenty of evidence about it. And you'll also, when you're looking at this stuff, you'll see that the GBI, they gave a list of possible firearms from the bullet comparison. And most importantly, it says this list is provided as only an investigative lead and is not intended to be an all-inclusive list. So short answer is, it's a 38 bullet. What kind of gun shot it? We don't know. But maybe some of these, or some like these. Now, bullets, these are what Scott had.
My God, this guy's
in the bar
driving me mental.
and in his bedroom. The one on the left is actually from his nightstand. And what kind of bullet are those? Those are 38 special bullets. 38 special, 158 green, lead round nose. American. And also heard Scott talking about, actually Chris said he didn't own a handgun, never did. That's not true. But he's got this many 38 bullets in his immediate rim, so to speak. That's a lot of 38 bullets for somebody that doesn't have
This
the
is what I
ability.
imagine my ex would be like in court.
But he didn't, because we know from his own testimony, he had a .357 Magnum. Now, he
It's
claims
like
it's
incredibly
we'll get into that in
boring.
just a minute. But that's a lot of bullets for somebody that ain't got a gun. Now, what did he say? Well, somebody bought those over. Who? No idea. When? No idea. I mean, bullets are fairly expensive. I'm not going over somebody's house and leaving my box of bullets. Yet again, just doesn't make sense. Missing .357. And I call this, you saw the next slide of the magic gun. We'll get into it.
You're
But
doing the Chewbacca defense?
just real quick about Scott's missing .357. So John Luke had introduced these with Scott, and it was Scott Defense 97 through 100. And you heard John Luke questioning him about where was your gun stolen and all that. He said it was down in Columbus when he lived down there. House got broken into. Remember, guns missing. They called law enforcement. So all right, we got a stolen gun. Your gun gets stolen. You obviously report it because I don't want my gun being used in a crime coming back on me years later or days later or whatever. So he claims to have reported.
How much
So,
longer is he going to talk?
we
for?
asked the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office, give us all records. I believe it was between
Bloody hell.
a certain year time frame regarding the
Oh my
357
God.
Magnum, other firearms belonging to Scott
Okay, I
Walker
can't handle
that
it
were
anymore.
reported stolen. We are requesting copies of any incident reports 911, and we asked for that to be between the years of 2008 and 2015. And Muskogee County Police Department, from the sheriff himself, Scott 98, in response to your open records request submitted to the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office, please be advised that the Sheriff's Office was not able to find information requested in your details you gave. Therefore, there are no documents that exist. So, Columbus is a big town. Had to call my buddy Cody because he's from
All
Columbus.
right, guys, we're going to pick this up next time. So we get to start with him nearly finished,
Yes.
and then we get to go into Baldy's finishing off of the defense closing argument, which is better. Thank God. I think that's the reason why the jury actually took a few days, because of Baldy's closing arguments. And then we get the rebuttal, and we will do in the next stream, we will do the verdict as well. Right? nah, we're not going to 2 times. I can't handle him anymore. Like, seriously, I want to kill myself. Just, I want to die after that. And like, I agree with most of the things he's saying. I just can't handle him anymore.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm done. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm out. Right. So, Dali.
Yes. Guilty.
Yeah. Anyway, so tell us about
So
tomorrow.
my
What's your plans?
plan is to get up early, head to the court. Hope to get there around 6:30, and watch closing argument. I don't know after that how long I'm gonna stay at court or what is gonna happen. If it finishes early enough, maybe I'll stay for an hour or two. I don't know, but I'll figure it out tomorrow. And then I'll go live in the afternoon. I don't know what time yet. Either 7 or 8 Eastern.
Oh. Wouldn't you go like, I suppose, wouldn't you go at like 4?
Local time.
Sorry, so you're going to be there most of the day, and okay, because you'll be there most of the day, right?
Yeah.
And you drive back, and then you will stream the closing arguments,
or just talk about what happened, or
just talk, because people will have watched them already, right?
probably. I may do them, but we'll see.
But it depends how long they go. They might not be too long, because she said that she's going to go for less time than the state, and the state's only going to go for an hour.
Yeah.
So you might be able to stream them.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll see how much I have to report.
True. All right, sweet. How exciting.
Yes.
How exciting. I bet Laurie's missed you.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lauren. Don't you freaking say anything about Lauren about me. You better not go anywhere. Yeah. Do not. You behave yourself, right? Yeah. Don't trust you at all. Okay, great. Well, you have a good time. Get a nice sleep. Make sure that you press your suit and all that kind of thing. Wear some cologne.
Oh yeah, Old Spice.
Get a pic with Nate.
Maybe.
Not. Yeah. Well, get a pic with Nate and
Lauren.
Yay. All right. And guys, watch out, because I'm dropping more body cam videos and things, and we'll do a stream on that the day after. Cool. Yes, make a signs. Free Ricky. You need to photobomb Lauren.
Oh, but we're besties now.
You'll be even closer after that.
She's already on the lookout for like people trolling her, I think.
Oh, we've still got to find that video.
I know. I wonder if it's out there.
Of her freaking out. Yes.
I don't know what happened there. That'd be amazing.
Oh, Mavka. Yeah, ask Nate why he helped Chad bury the kids.
Yeah. That would be funny.
Where are the kids, Laurie? Actually, he knew.
Where are the kids, Nate?
Oh dear. All right. That's it. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'm sorry to inflict all that brutality on you. No, these things happen. Time for this song. Her name was Ella. She was an Aussie. Thanks, David.
Free Mark.
No, Mavka.